Mayor Emanuel today announced a crackdown on 18 businesses, mostly liquor stores and convenience stores that are illegally, allegedly, centers of criminal gang activity, that is.
This is all linked to a larger crackdown on illegal drug sales to try to relieve neighborhoods who are caught in the crossfire. Our political editor, Mike Flannery, joins us now with a disturbing look inside one of those communities. Mike.
Well, Robin, drug-dealing street gangs have been a plague on East Garfield Park now for decades. They draw customers from all across the city and the suburbs, collecting millions of dollars in the process. Now their business model is getting some surprising 21st century updates. Open-air, drive-up drug markets are nothing new in some parts of Chicago. Hand over cash, get illegal narcotics. Neighbors and city officials told us this one at Wilcox in Francisco has been in business for 30 years on and off. Lately, it's been on, with a party bus bringing in customers and a Facebook page with more than 700 friends.
Wilcox in Francisco.
Also posted on the internet, a slickly produced rap music video. Recorded in the vicinity, it recounts gang fights and killings at the notorious intersection. Chicago police and the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration have arrested hundreds here over the decades, but the price of some drugs is now lower than ever, and the bloodshed continues.
Young kids are getting killed. I had a nephew got killed over here on Mason last week, and right in front of his house. He's standing in front of his house, and somebody come up out of the gangway and shot him.
We heard similar horror stories from a dozen neighbors, only a few willing to talk on camera. Many believe bullets were recently fired through this window because a resident of this home had complained repeatedly about the gang-controlled drug dealing.
Law-abiding citizens have to take control. Most of them are afraid to come out here and talk to you about the issues.
I'd be afraid too. These guys have guns,
and they're retaliatory against it. And they don't want the story told, but the story needs to be told. So people should be outraged on what's happening here.
When police do appear, lookouts have usually alerted the drug dealers. They conceal the merchandise and head for one of a half-dozen boarded-up buildings nearby. As soon as the cops disappear, the gangsters are back on the beat. When we told Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy of this story late today, he said it epitomized what's gone wrong in America's so-called war on drugs.
And exactly what you're telling me is the reason why we need to change those tactics. And as long as people have been buying for 30 years at that location, somebody else is going to show up with supply. That's the way it goes.
And a gun.
And a gun. Now what happens if two people show up with supply and two guns? We might have actually fostered violence by the way we do our narcotics enforcement.
So they got them guns in their possession, and then they shoot and kill somebody that's innocent like myself. Then that's what gets me. I don't want to be a statistic.
Gloria Wilson there and other neighbors at Wilcox and Francisco and in the vicinity despair that anything is going to be done about the violence that they live with. Police Superintendent McCarthy, though, claims that the intersection is on his list of drug corners that is going to be cleaned up and then occupied by at least one officer 24/7, 365, Bob and Robin.
But a lot of people are critical of this idea of closing down the businesses that seem to attract the gang activity that attacks the symptom of the problem and not the root.
Well, I mean, that's the problem, and we're actually going to do some more on this tomorrow. One of the things that McCarthy said is by themselves, the police are not going to be able to solve the drug problem. I mean, it really is a multi-million-dollar business out there. We had one street gang shown in the 1980s to be bringing in $150 million a year. It may be over $1 billion in the whole metropolitan area now. With that kind of money, it's going to endure. So the question is, how do you control it? How do you tame it? How do you save those people in that neighborhood and all the others from getting shot?
Got to replace it with something, don't you?
You do.
Well, the NATO top cop honeymoon didn't last long, did it? He's got a lot on his plate, doesn't he?
A lot on his plate, and for the mayor, too.
Right. Thanks, Mike.